Dr. Kim,
Kobe Taylor, how are you this morning?
I am not too shabby today. A little bit
End
of a
of
cool front
July.
coming through. Yeah, but the
Yeah,
cool front
and
came in.
isn't that interesting that July when it's so hot, we
Crazy.
had in Oklahoma City had a week of rain and cooler weather and really nice, really nice. I
Uh,
like it.
Feels like early fall. It's insane. And it's
Yep,
August.
yep.
Today we get to talk about affair proofing your marriage, or can you affair proof your marriage? And so excited to talk about that with you because it's a big topic and issue that I know you're dealing with, and I'm having a lot of experiences with from other friends and people that we're talking to, that are just working through some of these things. And it's, man, it's real.
It is, and I think it's one of those things. And being aware in our culture, we're all vulnerable. I think we all, if we don't think we're vulnerable, I think we're leaving ourselves open. I think we
Yeah.
all have to take precautions, and I think this is something you got to be proactive. You can't wait till you're just right close to the fire and you're about ready to
Yeah.
fall into it before you take action. You want to go, okay, what do we start doing now that's going to strengthen our marriage? And really, to me, I think it's the bottom line. If my marriage is so strong, affairs, things like that, don't look very attractive anymore.
Yeah.
They just don't.
They don't. And there's so many aspects to this when it comes to ways that you can do it, but so much of what we put inside of our heads and our minds and what we believe and what we listen to, what we think about, what we view can really cause a lot of issues within that. If you start looking at your spouse more as wishing that they were somebody else, or comparing them to different things on both sides, all of a sudden you
Right.
start opening yourself up for opportunities for things to happen that you don't want to have happen.
Yeah, and I think we get in the trap of the comparison game gets in a negative way. Instead of saying my wife is the most beautiful woman
Yeah.
alive, I'm so attracted to her, which is the things that you want. I mean, I want Nancy to think she's the most beautiful woman alive in my eyes,
Yeah.
and she needs to think that. And so and if I'm thinking that, then yeah, I can look at someone else and think, well, that's a really attractive person, but you don't linger there. You go back
No,
to your wife, and because that's the person that you're building a relationship with.
it's
And
just
the
so
old
true.
greener grass thing, it just looks green, but I heard somebody say recently, I hadn't heard it before, like, well, maybe it's on top of a sewage tank, or a septic tank. And so it's like, yeah, there's just a bunch of crap under a lot of that stuff.
Yeah, it's a major issue, and I don't think we really understand the ramifications of what. And talking through some of our friends that are going through this in their marriage, like what it does to the whole family when this happens. And yes, there's redemption. There's lots of great stories of couples that have worked through this, but
Absolutely.
there's still, and we believe in that. But if you don't have to go through it, don't go through it. Like there's ways of saying, hey, the damage that this causes is not worth it, even if there is redemption at the end of it, and you guys work through it. But
Because it
it
takes
just
a lot of work.
destroys. It does.
Yeah, I think for me, I think for in our marriages, we've looked back and we've been very blessed that nothing like that's ever happened in our marriage. But I think what we would say, I think if you really do the things we talk about a lot, and that's putting God first and your spouse second,
Yeah.
consistently day by day, you kind of stay on your right track. Number one, God's not going to lead you to someone else. Although I've had
Yeah.
people come in and say, I think God brought this person into my life. No, you're married, you've got 3 kids. God did not bring that person in your
Yeah.
life. There's just no way. And so if you're doing that, God's going to keep your spouse where she needs to be, or she needs to be. And so those things, just that mindset of these are the two most important relationships. And so everything I do every day, if I can do that, it needs to be geared in building those relationships. And if I'm putting my energy there, I don't have any energy to go anywhere else, and I don't want to go anywhere else.
Absolutely. And dating your spouse is a big deal. I like what you said, that you pray every morning, Lord, give me the heart and desire for my wife every day. That's what I want to have. That's where my mind
Yep.
wants to go. Also, don't put yourself in a situation where you start developing a relationship with the opposite sex. You don't need to be alone in a car. You don't need to be going out to eat with this person on a regular basis, doing things like that where you're one on one and you can develop some of that intimacy. Don't put yourself in that situation. Remove yourself from any opportunity for temptation.
Right, right. If you start figuring out, I want to hang out at this place or be at this place a certain time because there's somebody up at 6 that happens to show up at that time and you're looking what you're wearing. I mean, don't fool yourself. It's
Yeah.
those easy baby steps that we can rationalize and say those are pretty innocent. But every affair starts with a baby step.
Yeah.
And I think we think, oh, we can always pull back. But why go there in the first place? Why not take that energy and dress up really nice for your spouse? Take her
Yeah.
out to somewhere where you can take her during COVID, drive through somewhere,
Someplace hot that I can drive through
whatever you can do.
with a mask on.
Yeah, and I think what you said is right. Don't leave room for suspicion. Don't do those kind of things that would be accountable to your spouse. Do everything you can to make your spouse feel secure. And I think knowing in the culture we have so many things thrown at, don't give the enemy a foothold. He would love to see our marriages crash. He'd love to see us have affairs and run our marriages and our witness and our lives. And Satan has a way of making things very attractive
Yes, he
until you
does.
get into it. And then once you've done it, it's like, then he makes you feel guilty and bad
He
because
does.
he tricked you. And
He
I
does.
think just being aware of that, there's so many lies we can believe because they kind of feel good for a short period of time. Long term, they're so destructive.
No. And it's not worth having to work through this if you don't have to. Protect your
Absolutely.
relationship. People are watching. Kids, if you have kids, they're watching you. Your wife is watching you. Friends and family. There's a reputation that you have to hold and a status that you have to hold as far as saying, hey, I believe in marriage. And Satan wants to take that out. So be on guard. And it's an everyday process, accountability, putting yourself in the right situations, not putting yourself in wrong situations, not like
Yeah,
you said, going into places you shouldn't be going, or spending a lot of time alone with the opposite sex are
absolutely.
lots of ways to really foolproof, secure that affair proof your
It
marriage.
goes back to us. I'm the only one that can affair proof my marriage. I'm the only one
Yep.
who can control this side of it. And I think it's taking that responsibility really serious and also knowing when you have a
It's
good
good.
marriage, there's nothing better in this life besides your relationship with Christ.
That's right. That's right.
It's
It's
good.
worth it. Absolutely worth it. Well, this has been fun. Thanks for just lending your wisdom, Dr. Kim, as well, and sharing with this because it's something that I know that we're passionate about and we really
Yeah.
want to see changed. Is like, hey, affair does not have to be a part of marriage. It doesn't
Yeah.
have to be at all. So, but I appreciate it. Like we say every week, don't be an okay man.
Be a better man.
Thank you all for joining us.
Have a great weekend.